Welcome to Three Food Memories. I'm Savas. Our guest on this episode of Three Food Memories is a razor-sharp paradox of fierce and fabulous. A transmasculine non-binary actor, activist and author, they lit up the screens and stages in Wentworth, starred alongside Nicole Kidman in 9 Perfect Strangers and scored a Helpmann nomination at just 19 years old. They're also a fellow countryman and dedicated foodie, making them dangerously relatable. ZOE TERAKES, welcome to Three Food Memories. Galasori says.
Yeah, don't speak Greek.
Let's practice. First of all, one big fat congratulations on the publishing of your debut book, Eros, Queer Myths for Lovers.
Thank you, honey.
Now, the book is provocative and gloriously sexual. It's reimagining of ancient Greek myths, revealing the enduring truth of trans lives. Why did you write it?
It's a good question. Well, it kind of all kicked off. It was actually Benjamin Law, reached out in 2023 and he said, do you reckon you have a book in you?
Why would he ask that question?
I think he was working with Hachette to find some writers, I think. I'm not really sure. And he just had a feeling, and I thought he was saying to write a book about myself, and I was like, get fucked. Absolutely not. But then he was like, no, to write, anything you're interested in writing in. And I was like, oh shit, okay, let me think about it. And then I went away and thought about it and then became obsessed with it. And between, the first phone call and the second phone call, wrote up this pitch with this idea for the book and then pitched it, and then it was on. But it sort of came from a response to, in 2023, that real spike in anti-trans rhetoric that we saw around the world, with J.K. Rowling and all those crazies. And so it sort of became about reinvesting in our own history when the world as it stands is sort of trying to say that we are a modern phenomenon. Yeah.
But queer people are not a modern phenomenon.
Precisely.
What are they?
Ancient. So ancient. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday. With transness and queerness, you can trace it back to time. Like the first signs of transsexuality came from fungi 2 million years ago. Fungi made lots of genders so it could reproduce. So nature has depended on queerness and genderqueerness and transsexuality for the survival of its species since time. And humans are no different to that, So the original pitch, you said you wrote a pitch to the publisher. Yeah.
How close to the final book is it?
Nothing like it.
So what was it initially? What was your initial pitch? What were your initial thoughts?
My initial pitch was I had like 10 short stories or 10 myths, and they were sort of cuntier and funnier and kind of a bit more camp than they obviously ended up being. It's not much.
Were you directed out of that?
No, not at all.
You just felt.
Yeah, just followed the feeling. And I think I had no idea how many I'd write when I set out and no idea how long they'd be. And then after I wrote the first 2, I was like, okay, these are kind of long, short stories. So it's feeling like I'll only do, 5 or 6 as opposed to 10 really short ones. Because I just found it, you could kind of sit with these people and sit in their worlds for longer, and there was still enough story to flesh out. And I preferred that.
Had you fancied yourself a writer, or were you someone who just liked to look at people's stories and just get into them?
Yeah, I'd never fancied myself a writer. I didn't really start reading properly until I was about 19. That was when I read Call Me By Your Name. I was like, oh my God, I can read. And then just sort of have made up for lost time. But yeah, I just thought, I loved words. Like, I think as an actor, you have to love words because you have to fucking say them all the time. So I had always known that I loved words, and I loved what we can make language do and how we can bend language. But I did not think I would be writing the words, I suppose.
Have you got more in you? Have you got more books in you? You do, right?
yeah,
Okay,
I
let's talk a
do.
bit about that later.
Yeah.
But so visually, it's a very handsome book, and it's to touch is exquisite. And the magic the words create, you know, when you're reading them and you've put them all together. What's about the book? What is it about the book, and why should people read it?
I mean, I think, to be honest, I don't think that way. Like, I don't think outside in. I think I have had the privilege of living inside these stories for the past 3 years almost. And so I think about my immediate community getting to live inside these stories too. And that's what makes me happy. And that's what I feel this book is for queer people and trans people to have these really rich, vast, expansive worlds to imagine themselves in. Because it's just something that we're not often written for, you know? We have to sort of shimmy ourselves into spaces that weren't built for us, or stories that weren't made for us, and imagine ourselves in them, as opposed to, you know, just have that easy, like, oh my God, I know this place. I know what this body feels like. So I think I've written it for us, really. And if straight people like it, that's great.
But it's a gift that you've given to the straight community, isn't it?
Well,
It's spilled out.
I'll learn them.
You'll find out.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about people's response to it?
No. Oh, I mean, depends what you mean. Like, that people won't like it?
Any response?
Yeah, of course. I'm terrified people won't like it. I'm terrified that, you know, my whole publishing team have been lying to me and say, like, it's great. Then it'll go out.
But do you feel it's great?
When I read it back, I mean, there's always parts of your art that you're going to go, oh, yuck, you know, but then there's a lot of parts in the book that I'm like, fuck, damn, I wrote that, you know, and I really felt it when because I recorded the audiobook, and obviously that is, you were just sitting in a booth for 3 days straight, just reading your own words. And that was really interesting because there were parts already I felt I'd grown out of as a writer, and there were parts that I just was like, I cannot believe I wrote that, you know? So it's always going to be a combination of the two, I think.
Were there moments of pride in that audio room?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there was moments of real awkwardness because there's so much sex in the book, and it was me and one sound recordist, and he was like, can you take it back from I put his cock in me? I was like, yep, yes I can. So yeah, it's a combination of feelings.
In queer language, words once meant to wound, which you've used twice already, cock and cunt, are reclaimed as shields and swords, glistening in the same fierce magic that He-Man and She-Ra would, you know, summon in battle. How did reclaimed language like this shape the stories in Eros?
Such a good question. I think modern language and modern queer language is something that, even though obviously the time that the stories are set in changed pretty drastically, like we're in ancient Crete, and then we're in the cross in the 90s, but that kind of sharp modern queer language is peppered throughout, and I think it's just a really nice kind of thread for a reader to hold on to, and it was a really nice thread for me to hold on to as a writer, that no matter where these people are, the kind of viciousness of language remains. And I think I wanted that. That's what I hadn't seen, I suppose, in, you know, modern retellings of Greek myths, or even, you know, Song of Achilles, which I loved, is just, I think, queer language, really. Like, there's a lot of quite classical or still modern speech in there, but I think our language has been missing, and queer ethnic language as well, which is like, you know, it's pretty specific. So yeah, it became really important for me to hold on to.
But there seems to be a lot of family connection in the book as well. And is this drawn from a deep connection to your own family and partner?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I feel bad because my mum gets a great write-up in the book, and like the mums in the book are amazing and the dads are all awful. And my dad is not awful. I love my dad. So I feel kind of bad. I'm like, oh God, hope he doesn't read that and reflect. But yeah, totally.
But there are cousins, aunts, grandparents, everyone. So everyone in your immediate and extended family is in this book.
Well, yeah, they are. And I mean, particularly in Artemis, the second last story, I really borrowed quite a bit of, not the like evil dad stuff, but, my great-grandfather migrated from Crete, met my great-grandmother. She was in Port Said. They met on the boat. They came to Brisbane. Then they moved to Lismore. So like I'm really drawing quite heavily beg, borrowing and stealing from my own family in that story in particular. Yeah.
There's a wonderful scene where a partner is introduced to the family in the book and you liken it to the attack of the seagulls.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just relive that for me?
When in the lesbian one, second last one. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know the men in my family. You met my dad, and I love them. But yeah, they're Greek men, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't too difficult to draw on that. Yeah.
Before we hop into your food memories, if you can pick up a performance like you and take it away to unbelievable places. I mean, you get a character, you own it, you get into it, and then it's gone with you. And then we are with you. So this book is no surprise to me. I mean, your writing is no surprise to me. I need to get a bit fad daddy, because you also deserve a big congratulations on your role in the Marvel series Ironheart.
Thank you.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. It feels like a lifetime ago. It was almost 4 years ago now that we shot it, or 3.5 years ago. But it was extraordinary. It was the most amazing experience. Like, just being in Atlanta, I was the only Australian on the job, getting to work with kind of such powerhouses. Also a show led almost entirely by black women, about black women. It was just like, it was so remarkable.
Who were some of the powerhouses on set with you?
Shea Coulee, of course. Shakira Barrera, Sonia Denny, Sam, our director, Dominic Thorne, Anthony Ramos, the list goes on. Manny Montana. It was just like, I was in the company of greats, and it was a true honor.
Did you ever at times think, or pinch yourself and go, am I doing here? How did I get here?
Yeah, all the time. Most days. Like, I'd never shot on a studio before, on a lot, because we just don't do that much here.
Yeah.
And so when I got to the studio on the first day, I was like, oh my God.
Were you taking photos?
Of course I was. They were like, don't take photos. I was like, okay. And then, the stunt, like doing the stunt stuff as well. I'd never done big stunt scenes before.
So you did all your own stunt work?
Yeah, babe.
And you had to train to do that, or it came naturally?
They trained us like dogs. It was crazy. I mean, my stunt double was amazing. And he actually did one slide for me because he couldn't do it. Everything else I did. But he was so great. And our stunties trained us as well. I mean, they worked us so hard after the first week. Me and the girl who played my sister, Shakira, sort of turned to each other and went, hey, can you move your neck? And she was like, no, I can't. I was like, great, me neither. So it was hard work, but it was fucking awesome.
So you're Marvel Universe's first trans actor, is that correct?
I think so. I think maybe there might be one other guy, but I'm not quite sure.
So what character do you play, and when can we see this film?
I play Jerry. They're one of the blood siblings, or he's one of the blood siblings, and they're from the comics, the Blood Sibs, they're the Blood Brothers in the comics. They're these massive guys, and then they sort of cast me and Shakira, and you can see it now. It's out on Disney Plus. It's all 6 episodes, and yeah, it's a hoot. There's some pretty fucking remarkable acting in there from our lead.
What else have you got in the pipeline that you can talk about in terms of screen and stage?
Well, in terms of stage, I think I can talk about it. The last story, the Hermaphrodite story, has been optioned to be a play that I am writing. That's where I'm going after this, is to get this fucking draft in.
So a full version, like that little story, is going to be made into like a 90-minute plus.
Yeah, and I tell you what, because I'm adapting it, and it's hard. It's like I'm having to trim it down It's weird. It just lends itself so beautifully to the stage, because you think about the kind of magic of stage and the ephemeral nature of it, and how we sort of, there's that beautiful contract that happens with an audience where we just agree to suspend our disbelief. And I think with myth, that is such a privilege with stage, as opposed to screen. It can kind of, you know, can feel a bit like Troy or Sparta 300. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can feel a bit like, and the gods are coming to the desert in Greece. Whereas on stage, you know, you can do it in a black box and it works, you know, the audience fill in the rest. So I'm having a really good time with it.
How are you, in writing this screenplay, how are you helping, because that's your job as a writer, to help the audience get a grasp and understanding of the epicness of these stories? What are you putting into the scripts?
That's such a nice question, because it's really relevant. Last night, the past little bit with this play, in the first act of Hermaphroditus, I found something, I think it's called a Greek polyphony or polyphone, and it's usually women, and they are all, instead of singing in harmony, they're just all singing really different melodies. What was that?
Oh my God, this happens every now and again. I get an electric shock from when a guest says something.
Whoa. Okay, magic. It's pretty magical, this thing. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's the most extraordinary sound. And because I was sitting in the library just trying to think what Fate would sound like. And then this video came up, and I was like, that's what Fate sounds like. And so Fate has kind of been traced through the play with this sound, and kind of, you know, that whole Greek thing with the fates and the furies and how you can't outrun it, and they've just got the fucking string. And so Fate is chasing this boy, and it just gets closer and closer and closer until they get changed into a woman, and then Fate leaves them alone.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so you're really relying on sound as well.
Yeah, in a big way, yeah. Which is the beauty of stage, is when you strip everything back and you just are left with your senses, like sound and sight becomes so important, you know.
Do you feel at times you're at a disadvantage for not knowing Greek, not being able to speak Greek?
Yeah, it makes me very sad. Because it's so hard to learn. And my dad can't speak it either. My grandpa could, but I think, you know, back then, like, there was a real assimilate or bust thing going on, and so my grandpa just didn't really pass any of that stuff on, which sucks. I mean, I get why, but really bums me out.
It's kind of like the Jewish people who leave their countries and give up their Judaism. Yeah, it is. It's so they can assimilate, and they take on, you know, Church of England or Catholic. Yeah. It's that same sort of thing, isn't it? Giving up a culture.
It really is. And I mean, any culture, any religion, it feels like, you know.
But you feel your Hellenicism inside you, don't you?
Absolutely. I feel, it's interesting. My grandpa was the same. I feel very Cretan. I don't necessarily, like, my grandfather was always really proud to be Cretan, wasn't proud to be Greek. And it's weird, we did our DNA fucking spit in a cup thing, and we have no mainland Greek in us. It's all like the Aegean, sort of, then you get quite a bit of Turkish, a bit of Arab, you know, it's all, and Southern Italian, like it's all that real Mediterranean strip down the bottom. So yeah, it's weird. I feel that acutely more than I do. Like when I was in Athens, I didn't feel super connected to the culture there. But then the second I stepped foot on Crete, I was like, oh my God.
More on that later, ZOE TERAKES. Your first food memory. It takes us to Crete, actually.
Oh, there we go.
Slow food in the Cretan mountains of Chania. Everything is cooked off the land in big clay pots.
Yeah.
Now, this is another epic memory.
Yeah.
And story. What's the name of the restaurant?
Undunias. I'm not sure how you say it.
And how did you discover this place?
My dad did. Because my cousins had been to Crete a few years before us. And they were like, you got to go to this restaurant. And I was like, oh, fuck, I can't be bothered. I just want to lie on the beach. And Dad was like, come on. Because my dad's a massive foodie. It's all he really cares about in life. And so we had this hire car, and Dad had already dinged it up on a side street, you know, because the streets are this narrow. And we're driving up these mountains, and it is like the street is as wide as the car, sometimes not quite as wide as the car. It's a dirt road. There's goats everywhere. It's just because Crete's like so dry. It's just a rock with olive trees on it. And the odd, prickly pear cactus. And then we got there, it was kind of near the top of this mountain, really. And it's this this tiny restaurant with 3 massive clay pots out the front and fire under them. There's an 8-year-old running the bookings on the phone, and she kind of waves and greets you. And then Stelios, who runs it, it's his restaurant, just sat us down, and the menu's hilarious because the English is so bad. So I ordered something that, just because the name was so great, it just said Leguminous Day. And I was like, need that, whatever that is. And yeah, it takes ages to come.
What was Leguminous Day?
Some bean dish, it takes ages to come.
Legumes of the day.
Yeah, Leguminous Day.
Legumes, yes.
yeah. Anyway, and it was just the most unbelievable food.
Describe the flavours.
Like, it's again so specifically Cretan, which is sort of a mix of Greek and North African and Arabic, just like, or Arab food. There's like so much Turkish in it, because Crete was just owned by everybody, until it was owned by Greece in the end. Yeah, and so we had goat and the kind of the horta, it feels like they just went and chopped the weeds and then cooked them as you ordered them. And there's actually a cookbook this Greek Turkish girl wrote, and she went and stayed with them for 6 months, that restaurant, and learned to cook from them. And she just said everything is from the land. Like the word, the name means slow food, because they just do not rush anything, and they will not serve anything that they didn't really grow themselves.
What made this place so special?
I mean, I just think, like, you're just looking out over these mountains. You can feel there's chickens running around everywhere. Like, you could just feel that what you're eating is a part of the land. And so that kind of makes you a part of the land. And I don't know, my dad is quite removed from his Greekness. Like, he just doesn't really give a fuck about it. And my uncle does, and my cousins do, but dad he doesn't like Greek food, so he says. So he's like, oh, I don't care. And I just sort of watched that change when we were there. I was like, oh, you're starting to respond.
He's transing.
He's transitioning into a Greek man. I wish. Yeah, but it was so, I've never eaten food like it. And, Stelios, the owner, comes out and he looked at me, and because I've got my grandpa's colouring. My grandpa was a really dark man, and Stelios sort of comes out and looks at mum and dad, then looks at me, then looks at himself, and he's like, and I was like, yeah, we are the same colour, it was really special.
So it is that connection, isn't it? We eat from the land, we are the land.
Yeah.
The land provides, and there you are looking at the natural food.
Yeah, totally.
And the clay pots.
Yeah.
Did you find out anything about them? How old are they, and how?
I don't know.
Did they look old?
They looked ancient. Like, they looked like nobody had moved them since, the Minoan civilization. They were they were so old, and they just cooked like big. Like, they had these Greek sausages and just lamb that had been cooking for ages, and it was just extraordinary. It was extraordinary. I mean, I don't know how time efficient it is, but I don't think that's their main concern,
And were there people there? Was it a busy place?
Yeah, it got busy when we got there. I don't know if you can book. You just kind of show up, and by the end it was filled out, and they were burning Greek coffee to keep the flies away.
Wow.
Like, it just felt like stepping into another time.
Now I'm curious, what were people drinking? Because in these places they're either drinking the wine from the land.
Yeah,
the
wine.
They were drinking
in the copper
wine.
cups, yeah.
And then sometimes you see the odd Coke Zero come up.
Yeah,
Sprite. Was there any of that
No,
happening?
not that I saw.
So it was just that authentic.
Yeah,
it really
was the real deal. It was the real deal.
When did you start to tap into your Hellenic roots?
Oh, since I was little. I remember when I was about 8, going to see Wog Boys 2 with Mum. And turning to Mum and going, hey, Mum, am I a wog? And she was like, ZOE TERAKES, you are a wog. And I was like, fucking no. But I mean, like, I'd always, you know, being Greek was always spoken about. You know, my grandpa spoke about it. He fucking made coffee with his bricky on the stove. And I spent a lot of time with him when he was alive. And so
was he your thread too? Because you made it clear that Dad really wasn't into the whole Greek thing.
Yeah, it was my grandfather.
Was he the thread back to...
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's more upon reflection, because at the time he wasn't doing anything where I was like, that's really Greek. But it's more, yeah, with hindsight, I'm like, you know, when he tucked me in to bed at night, he'd say, "No, night, sweetheart," and "fuck the Turks," and you know, it was, you know, it was like, it's pretty Greek. He'd fucking turn at his grave if he found out that we're as Turkish as we are Cretan. He'd be furious. But yeah, I think, and my cousin Ben, who is 20 years older than me, Benny sort of, he's so smart, and he's an artist. He really understands history. And so Ben has also been a real way back for me. Like a sort of, he is has a bit of an encyclopedic brain with mythology. And so I just pick his brains, and he did this tattoo, this goat.
The goat.
Yeah. And this Cretan dolphin.
With a broken sword. What is this broken...
Can't kill her. It's Zeus's mother. I'm up there. Can't kill her.
And then on the other tattoo there, show us a little bit, is the olive.
Yeah, I just got that one. That's why it's crusty. It's new. It was actually felt quite symbolic. I got it done at this tattoo shop I'd always wanted to go to, and this beautiful tattoo artist, Ogi. And he started, and he was like, you know, I'm Turkish. And I was like...
Tell my grandfather.
Yeah, but I was like, no shit. I'm getting an olive branch tattooed from a Turk to a Greek. Like, I was like, fucking hell. Yeah, it was quite symbolic.
So Mum is Australian.
Yeah.
It's British.
White as God's face, yeah.
Right, white as
English,
God's face.
Scottish.
So you had that next to this Greek part of you. So how did the two sit together, these two cultures sit together for you growing up? I mean, I can sort of explain it in one story, which was actually not very long ago. It was maybe a couple of years ago. Somebody had done... It was me, Mum and Dad were in the car together. I was in the back seat. This guy had like parked across the street, like perpendicular or whatever, horizontally across the street, blocking the whole street. And we're like, what's going on? And Dad's like, hey, what's going on? And then he comes over and he sort of starts to staunch the car. Dad and I call this man every name under the sun. Mum's locked the doors. I'm like a kid trying to get out of the car door, being like, fuck you, let me at him. And Mum's going, stop it. And we clutching the pearls and holding onto an Alice band.
Literally, and we drive away, and she goes, "Swear, I wish I married a nice white man." You know, like, she is just so. I mean, she's you know her. She's fucking fierce too. She's amazing. But yeah, it's a lot of me and Dad just going at each other. Big Greek tempers, and then Mum. But Mum's got that amazing, you know, Anglo thing where she can just ice somebody. Like, and if you put me and my dad on ice, it's the worst thing you can do. Like, it makes people crazy, you know, because we're so hot-blooded, and then we're like, wait, I love you. But she can just do that stone cold, nah, I've got the shits with you. And then that makes, you know, wogs crazy.
So your Greek side is something that you naturally gravitate to.
For sure.
Hellenicism and the discovery of yourself through Hellenicism. What came first? Now, when I say the discovery of yourself, I'm referring to your transition. Which one was first?
Ooh,
Or was there a first, or did they happen at the same time?
Well, I mean, culturally, like, I was always just super aware of my culture. Like, I brought different food to school, and, you know, got laughed at because of it, and, you know, like, just by my mates. But I was always hairier. Like, that kind of ethnic thing is not something that I necessarily realized, just because it's always been something that I've been aware of because it's made me different. But yeah, so I don't know if that was necessarily like a revelation as much as the gender thing was, I realized I was trans when I was just 18. And that was a real, that's like an undertaking, you know, it was a long road.
So as a queer Hellenic cis male myself with two legs, cock and balls, I observe your Hellenic and trans identity as a rich tapestry. Like they're intertwined. And this book, I mean, you've just proved it in this book. You came out at the age of 17, but it wasn't until, what, 18 or 19 that you came out as trans?
Yeah, I came out as gay when I was 16, I think, and then 18 I came out as trans.
And what happened? So when you got to the gay bit,
got
to the gay bit, okay, fuel, but you didn't get off at the right bus stop, did you?
No, I got off too early.
And what happened then?
Well, actually, you know, because I came out as gay to my family when I was like 14, like I've known for ages, and I still am gay, so I don't even necessarily, that hasn't changed. I think it was just then coming to understand myself more and growing up a little bit and just having access to words and information that I didn't previously have, you know.
But you were very fortunate because both your parents are of this world.
Absolutely.
So they would have given you anything that you needed, I think, of all those other people who haven't had that.
Totally.
So what was your understanding of trans at the coming out gay stage bit?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing, is when I was in school, there was no trans people. I mean, maybe by the time I graduated, there was a couple of trans people in the year below us, but we didn't know them. We didn't understand that. Like, it was still a very different world, particularly with anything non-binary. It was like, I don't even know what that is. But I was saying actually yesterday on this panel, there was this moment when I was 15, when I was on holiday with my family in Port Douglas or something. It was New Year's Eve, and I was really sad because this girl I thought I was in love with was in Sydney, and I just wanted to be with her and blah, 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 and she was straight. And I just remember being in this hotel room alone, and I'd bought, behind my parents' back that day, I'd bought men's deodorant, and I just kind of like put it on, and I couldn't stop smelling myself, and something about it felt really wrong, like really not okay and not allowed, and I just couldn't stop crying. And then I just shut it off and didn't look at it, think about it, talk about it again. Got really anorexic, like just kind of completely collapsed.
You disconnected from yourself.
Yeah, entirely. And so it wasn't until years late, like really actually until a few years ago, I was talking to a psychologist, and they were like, you know, was there any early stuff? And I was like, no. I was like, oh, there was one thing that happened when I was 15, but, and she was like, yeah, that's your body knowing something that your brain doesn't know yet. And I was like, oh, fuck. Oof. And it just made me really sad, because I was like, oh my God, so many years that my brain wasn't ready to know something, you know? And so I think by the time I figured it out when I was 18, like my brain caught up to my body, I guess, it was obviously terrifying and a daunting road ahead, but also just such a relief, I think.
Explain the relief.
I think when something's felt wrong that you haven't had words for, and then you finally come into that language, it's a huge relief, because you go, oh fuck, I'm not crazy. Like this shouldn't be this hard. Putting a sports bra on and a t-shirt shouldn't be this hard. And there was other little telltale signs. Like I was traveling around Europe with my best mate at the time, and I had 2 sports bras on under my shirt, and she was like, why are you wearing 2 sports bras? I was like, oh, don't you? And she was like, no. There was just this thing of trying to flatten myself out. So my body was doing things that I just didn't understand yet. And so that's, I think, to go, oh, that's why I've been doing these things. So, you know, you have a bit of a light bulb moment, I guess. And then the next hurdle becomes, you know, because my parents are obviously extraordinary, but there was, you know, there was a couple of years there with the, not with the queer stuff, with the trans stuff. It wasn't easy. You're trying to, particularly with genderqueerness or non-binariness, you're explaining something that people have never heard of. It's not like I'm gay and people can say, oh, I don't like it, but they know what it is. With non-binary at the time, you know, in the late 2010s, people just had no idea what it was. And so you're saying, hey, I am this thing you've never heard of.
But your book illustrates and factually so, that queer and non-binary people have been around for ages.
Mm-hmm. Sure have.
So somewhere along the line there was an erasure, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I think queerness and transness inherently threaten the status quo because they are inherently questioning identities. Like they question why things should be the way they are. And to any type of fascist government or, you know, restrictive society, that is dangerous. It's dangerous to question why things are the way they are. And so I think that's, you know, part of the reason we see trans people with targets on their back now is because when governments want to control people, like we're seeing in America, people who ask questions are really dangerous.
You previously said that when you came out as non-binary or transmasculine, you have to explain your entire existence to people, which is exhausting. Does it still feel that way now that you're in your mid-20s?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I think I did the hard yards on it for years, for my late teens. And now I just am also more selective about who I'm around. Like I just make the choice not to, you know, like there's obviously exceptions to that rule. And sometimes I'll meet somebody extraordinary, you know, who's 70 and I go, yeah, you and I'm going to move slow with this, with you, and I'm going to take you through this and we're going to meet in the middle. But so often, like I live with all trans people, all my best mates are trans, you know, my world is incredibly queer and trans and black and brown. And in those spaces, I don't have to explain myself very much.
So let's talk about, in 2023 on the Graham Norton show, Miriam Margolyes told the world what a brilliant actor you were. She stopped and she looked across the panel, across the couch. She made sure that everyone had heard your name and knew who you were. But she also shared a conversation she had with you that changed her view on gender neutral pronouns. Tell me about that conversation you had with her.
Yeah, I think it was when we were in America together, or because I ran into her in Santa Barbara. Me and my friend were traveling up the coast of California, and I saw this woman sitting in a chair just looking out at the water, and I was like, is that Miriam? And I went up to her and
Had you met her before?
Yeah, we'd met because she was doing a play at Melbourne Theatre Company when I was doing a play at Melbourne Theatre Company, and she came and saw it, and I saw her show, and it's
a distinctive silhouette, isn't it?
She's a magic woman. She's perfect. That hair, like, I just adore her. And yeah, and somewhere along the way in our friendship, we had words about language and about yes, grammar is important, but I think people being alive is probably more important. And, you know, there's another example of this where it was when she was doing Miriam Travels Around Australia or something, and she was in the Tiwi Islands.
Yes.
The Tiwi Island Sister Girls, you know, and it's such a wonderful example of somebody getting it wrong and instantly acknowledging it. Like there's no kind of defensiveness. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry. What I just said must have been very offensive then." And they all say, "Yeah, it was." And she's like, "Oh, I'm deeply sorry. Thank you for telling me." And it's that fucking simple, you know? It's just, you go, this woman is 80 something and so porous, so curious, so committed to learning and to listening.
And also telling how it is too.
Yeah, and we can see that with her response to Gaza as well, you know? Like, she has used her platform as a Jewish woman to speak so fiercely on behalf of, for and with Palestinians and Gazans. She's just extraordinary.
So back to you. She made the comment that she didn't understand the use of pronouns and the specifics around the use of pronouns wasn't grammatically correct for her, which you can imagine her saying, and you can see her just squinting a little brow. But then you said something equally as simple to her. What doesn't matter to you if you can make someone happy? And I think that for her, would you agree?
Yeah.
By saying that to her, it was just that light bulb moment.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so, yeah. I think it was a conversation, not so much now, but then it was really kind of the thing people went to most, my mum included. It was like, it's just the grammar. It's just so frustrating. And I think everybody comes to it in their own time, but that penny does drop of like, oh, so fucking what? So what grammar? Grammar changes all the time. Language, that's what's so wonderful about it, is that it's an adaptive thing. It moves with us. We don't have to talk like Shakespeare, you know? Language grows and changes with the humans that use it, you know? And so I think you just go, what doesn't change is me, or the choice I have is to validate somebody's existence or not. And that feels like an easy choice.
How are they now, your parents now, with the pronouns?
Amazing. Dad took a while. Dad took, you know, Mum took maybe a year or two, and Dad took maybe 3 or 4 years. It was interesting. It was actually, I did a play at Belvoir called Boomcack Panto. Virginia Gay wrote it, and it was a hoot. It's like this. It became a panto, and the baddie, the villain in it, was this big developer. I played essentially myself. Ginny just wrote me this role, and the baddie was just misgendering this ZOE character the whole time. And my parents came to watch it, and my dad wasn't using my pronouns at the time, and then we
Would you get angry with him when he did it? Or was it just a slip?
You get used to it. You just get used to it. Yeah, it doesn't really, unless it's like super intentional. I mean, with Dad, to be honest, I thought he'd never get there, and then he did, and that's a miracle. You know, if you've met my dad, he's a pretty big bolshy dude, and he's smart. He's a smart man, and he's incredibly tender as well, and so I think that probably got him there. But yeah, in this show afterwards,
I don't think your mum would have found that in a lovely white man.
No, precisely, yeah. And she's fiery too. She fucking tells him what to do. But yeah, after the show, we were downstairs in the Belvoir foyer, and me and Virginia Gay and Deb Galanos, or Deb Sintress, I don't know if you know her, pigs. So messy, the messiest. And our 3 dressing room tables were next to each other, and it just looked like somebody had set off a bomb in the room. And we were talking about how messy we were, and my dad just goes, "Oh God, you should see their bedroom." And I went, "What?" It was just the first time he'd ever used my pronouns. And it's like I saw how his brain worked in that moment. He'd seen the show. He'd gone, "Oh, fuck. Oh, that's what I do." And it just, like a light bulb went on. And he has rarely misgendered me since.
Your experience and your journey, gay to transitioning to now, I mean, you've had to watch and observe. Can you speak about your parents' journey and what you observed in their development?
Yeah, I think for Mum, it was really amazing during lockdown. I don't know.
Because they start with a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but I never really was one.
Right.
I never really was one. Like I was a little boy, really. I refused to wear a bikini top. I wore boardies, that's it. I dressed like a boy. I skateboarded. I surfed. Like I was never really a little girl. And that didn't start to, I didn't start to think I had to be until I was in sort of primary school, really, like late primary school. I was like, oh shit, I better figure out this girl thing because everybody's doing it, you know. And then I went really hard the other way and tried to be really femme and stuff. But that little kid they had, I think I'm closer to that kid than I've ever been in my entire life. And I think that's what particularly I see in my mum respond to. That story of Ifis and Ianthe, the mum isn't in that, is so heavily based on my mum. You know, I think I see her recognize the kid she had as, I think I see her see me now as the closest thing she's had to the kid she had, which is a really special thing.
So, I mean, it's so joyful to hear you speak about your parents like this and the support, but not every trans person has this relationship. Where do they go if they don't have what you've had?
Yeah.
What happens to them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a total privilege to have parents like this and a rarity, unfortunately. I mean, so many of my friends don't have what I have. And I think that is where you see community become a lifeline and trans community become a lifeline. And that is very alive in the community that I'm in. You know, we all take care of each other, and we sort of do have mothers and fathers of our
Do you
community.
step into those roles for some of your friends?
No, I'm too little. I step into like annoying baby brother probably, or annoying sister. But no, I'm too little. I make people food. I cook for everybody. But yeah.
Well, that's a parenting.
Yeah, that's something I do. If something's gone wrong to somebody, I just cook. I cook
Bring
for
out the pot,
them.
the clay
pot. Yeah. Truly. But yeah, I think those figures appear in our community, and you know, and
Is food your lung language?
Lung language.
Is food your love language?
Absolutely, one of them. Yeah, definitely. Like I cook for my partner so much. It's like if I just have an excess of love, it's like, oh my god, I just make pasta. Yeah, exactly.
Which takes us to your second food memory, a fava with rooster in Fourni.
Yeah.
Your family village.
Yes.
Tell me about this memory.
So it was with all my cousins, my aunt,
How
my
many
uncle,
are there?
Benny, Soph, Nick, Ben's kids, Marnie and George, who are like my nieces. And then mum, dad, Arnie, Kate, Uncle Day, and then in spirit, my dad's brother who passed away, Peter. And we were all in in Fourni, in this village, and there's the church with our fucking name on it written in Greek. And yeah, this restaurant that, you know, they sort of knocked, and he was like, oh, you want to eat here? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, my wife's the cook, she'll be home in 45, is that all right? They're like, yep. And so we kind of just walked around the village, and there's just fig trees everywhere, and these fig trees have sort of taken over the houses. Like, it's kind of, some of the houses are...
So this is late summer, early autumn that you're there, right?
Yeah. And some of the houses have just been sort of, eaten by these fig trees that poke out the windows, and the sun's kind of burnt them a bit, so they're caramelized. It's extraordinary. Pomegranate trees, olive trees, rosemary everywhere, oregano everywhere.
God, the smell, the aromas.
Crazy aroma. It was so beautiful. And anyway, and then after a while we come back, and his wife's home, and you know, we order rooster and fava and I can't really, and maybe goat and rabbit. And it was just unbelievable. I'd never had fava before, and I've tried to make it that many fucking times, and it tastes nothing like it.
Describe what this fava tasted
It
like.
was so light. Like whenever I've tried to make it, it just feels like heavy. And for people who don't know, it's the, you know, split pea sort of this, almost like a dip, but it's a, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it was so light and fluffy and bright yellow. And I think they had some pickled onions over the top or something. It was so delicious. This kind of shit half stale bread. It was amazing. It was one of the most amazing meals.
So there's a difference in flavour between hen and rooster.
Yeah.
Describe the rooster.
It's a bit of a richer flavour,
Gamier?
I think. Yeah, I found it richer. And it was sort of in this tomatoey sauce, and yeah, it was like maybe leaner or something, and darker meat, but it was so delicious.
So foodie is the village that you're from, which means oven or little oven. Does foodie feel like home?
I mean, it's that weird thing for, you know, diasporic folks where yes and no. Like,
does it hold answers?
I think the whole of Crete holds answers for me. But again, it's that thing of when you don't have the language, you just feel like a bit of a fuckwit as well. So it's kind of both, you know, you're like, oh my God, I'm home. But then also you're like, and I have no way of communicating that to anybody or asking anybody any questions. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like I felt my skin was the best it had been in so long. You know, there's ways your body responds to a place, I suppose. And just the climate felt perfect for the, like, how my body responds to heat, and, you know, just weird shit like that where you go, this is so specific. And the way of eating, like, you know, when you can just tell you're eating the way you're meant to eat.
Yeah, because you're around the people who eat like you,
yeah,
who drive like you.
Exactly. Yeah, fuck, do they drive like me, man? There's a road rage galore.
I've seen the dings on your car, Dad.
Yeah, you've seen it.
But also people who swear like you, talk like
Yeah.
you, eat like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that all the time. Every time I set foot in Cyprus, which is where I'm from.
Cypriot?
Yeah. Every time I'm there, it's like I'm with my tribe. It might not be home, but this is where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I do get answers from that place. So I want to have an understanding. Do you have a favorite Greek thing outside of food?
Oh, that's so hard to pick. I mean, I guess I'll say art because it's all encompassing. Because that I was like, oh, myth or art.
That's safe.
Yeah, I
Very
know.
safe for you.
I know. Well, there's so much that I'm obsessed with.
I tell you one thing I do notice on your Instagram posts, you have a fantastic handle of Greek music. So you've chosen several pieces of Greek music to go with stuff, and it's like, where the fuck did she find that?
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's really, it's a way of, it kind of, I visualize you being in a secondhand record shop just flicking through the vinyl.
True story.
Really?
Yeah. When I was in LA randomly, there was this whole, it's so cheap because Americans don't really know anything about Greeks. And so there was like this really cheap old Greek vinyl that I just got heaps of.
I just made that up though. Like I completely.
Oh wow, you know that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. I always look for Greek vinyl. But the trouble is I don't know what anybody's saying. I always think that when I like attach a song to my Instagram, I'm like, they could be saying like "fuck me in the arsehole," and I would have no idea.
It's a language warning.
Yeah.
On this episode.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fine. Have you seen Head On with Alex Dimitriadis?
Of course I have.
So let's talk about that for a second with Alex and with Paul Caps. What did that make you feel? How old were you when you saw it, by the way? Because this is almost a 30-year-old film.
Yeah, I saw it only a few years ago.
Wow.
When I read the book first. And maybe I'd seen Head On when I was younger, but not in full. And then I read the book. I read Loaded and couldn't believe what I was reading, and then instantly watched the film. And I found it so emotional. I still do. I rewatched it only a couple of months ago, and it's so emotional watching it. I don't know if you found that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of unspoken dialogue in it that really hit me every single time. So there's a lot of action, and especially the way that Alex, I mean, Paul is one thing.
Yeah.
Paul is hypnotic. He is not plugged into this planet.
Yep.
You know, he sits up there with the gods.
Yep.
But Alex, I mean, interesting. I don't know if you've ever eaten with Alex. The way he eats is theatre. Like, I find him fascinating to watch eating. But just the way he communicated that character.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
And in the unspoken word, and how his body really gave a great sense of it, and gave a sense of our shame, or the stuff that you spoke about earlier. I was thinking about, you know, putting on, you know, a male deodorant on and what that made you feel. And there was just moments, and him going from really deep, dark moments of sexual escapades across to, you know, dancing, you know, Greek, Galamatiano going around. So, I found it full on.
Yeah, it is full on. And I think as well, it just speaks to, I mean, I can't really imagine, you know, being in the 90s or the early 2000s and being a queer Greek person like that. It's no easy, or really any queer ethnic person. Like, I think a lot of folks really see themselves in that film and that story, you know, because it is such a specific clash of identity, you know, that we have come to understand is incredibly linked, of course, but I imagine would be incredibly challenging as well.
Did you find that linking more and more apparent when you were creating your stories?
Yeah.
Through the research?
Yep. Yes. Like, completely. I mean, you know, there's just so much queerness in Greek myth, and even the myths that aren't queer in the literal sense, they're so queer in the sort of abject sense. Like, you know, people turning into swans and eagles, like that is so queer, you know, like there's something just camp but also transformational about it, and transgressive as well. Like, I think, and I was actually doing an interview the other day and somebody asked about the link between queer kids and Greek myth. And it's something I hadn't thought about, but it's so true. Like, I really think, you know, outside of Greek people, the kids that are really drawn to myth and mythology and Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology so often end up being queer. You know, like, I think about my friends who I was friends with when I was that little, who were like fucking sick for Medusa and all these crazy, weird, fucked up stories. They're all gay now, you know, and I think it's that being drawn to a sort of a darkness, or like but in the I know you speak about this darkness, and I've been to the darkness, but in the darkness there are answers. Totally. And paradoxically, in that darkness there is light, there is freedom. Would you agree? Absolutely.
So the places we're told not to go because they're dark and scary, but we're brave enough. I mean, even though we don't think we are, we're brave enough. It's your story.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. And I think we're drawn to it.
Like a moth to a dark flame.
To a dark flame. I think so. Like, I remember watching Hercules for the first time, the cartoon, when I was a kid, and just thinking the underworld. I was like, fucking hell, I want to go there. You know, there's something about that place that, you know, even without language, we go like, this place is subterranean and transgressive, and like weird, fucked up, cool shit happens, and maybe some sexy shit happens, you know, like stuff you're just drawn to when you're little, you know, because it's kind of, it's not allowed or something. I don't know. I just think there's a real parallel there.
It's interesting. I was telling my I have two twins, 10-year-old boys, and I was telling them that I was interviewing you today. Oh God, it tears me up. But I was telling them about you, and they said, so what bathroom do they use? And I had to stop and say, I'm going to ask. I'm not going to ask you on the show.
No,
But I do remember when they first started school, when their first day at kindergarten, I was really excited. I had all these questions for them. What was it like? Who did they play with? Where did they sit? And they were shell-shocked. They were really, really shell-shocked. And this then made it very clear to me of what sort of parent I had to be for these boys. They said, Papa, do you know the girls have separate bathrooms to the boys? Because going to preschool and kindergarten, they shared bathrooms. So all of a sudden, they noticed a segregation and it didn't make sense to them.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
So, Zoe, I want to ask you, if love is love, define queer love.
Well, I've never had straight love, so I don't have much of a comparison. But I think queer love is so visceral. I think there's something about it that is so intense. Like, there's a real intensity to queer love for all time. You know, you look at representations of queer art in film, in art, ancient, old, modern, all of it. Like, there's a...
Is the intensity the complexity?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's the fact that it's more complicated. I think it's the fact that it's just, there's a hunger. Like, the way we hunger for one another is wild, you know? And I think, and I don't know if it's that we permit ourselves that desire more than hetero people do, or if it's just in us to a greater extent. But I wonder if part of it is permission. I don't know. But I think there's, the desire is crazy.
Do you think it's because queer people have gone to that dark place on their own and investigated that they're able to have a different type of love? I'm just trying to think. What is? I'm trying to define what is queer love with you, because it's also loaded in history, politics, survival. Isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I think, and maybe it is because we've all kind of had to look at ourselves and had to think about our love and make decisions based on our love in ways that straight people have, they just get to.
Have you debated this conversation with straight friends?
No, I don't have any. I think, you know, there is something to be said for the fact that we all had to really fucking go there to get out. And then, of course, we didn't do that for nothing, you know, like, we're gonna love hard because we sure as shit just didn't go through all that coming out and, you know, like, disrespect, I guess, to not love each other as hard as we fucking can. But also maybe because of community, right? Like, we have to depend on each other as well, and in a way that I don't think straight people or unmarginalized people have to.
What happens when the unmarginalised that you speak of, and I'm referring to stories from the book, when they open themselves up to a greater community? What happens to these people?
They're very lucky. I think it's a privilege to be welcomed into a space that wasn't necessarily designed for you. I think that's a huge privilege. But I think as well, there's so much to be gained. Like, I used to talk about this a lot, and I don't so much anymore because I'm sick of pleading for cis people's respect or empathy. But I think that when, like, trans people aren't just freeing trans people, we're freeing everybody. Like, we're saying, hey, you cis straight man, you can look cunty in a skirt and it doesn't make you a poof. It doesn't make you, and if you want to, like, you know, breaking down these boundaries or these sort of invisible lines we've drawn in the sand is for everybody. It's not just for queer people and trans people. So I think it's that thing of, we're all trying to get each other free, I guess.
There was one thing that really stood out to me in Eros. It was aggressively erotic, which I kind of liked at times. But it also was a really big attempt, if not a really good Aussie have a go at stopping the erasure of trans cultures. So I I can't wait to share this with my cis straight friends.
Yeah, good.
And go, look at this, look at this. What part of this do you relate to?
Trans-sex, baby.
And bringing it out. You said earlier that you wrote this book for yourself and for your community, and I asked you, what do you think the greater community is going to make from this book? What do you think they're going to make of this book? What would you like? You know what? Because you don't know yet.
Yeah.
What would you like them to make of this book?
I hope they get horny and it confuses them. That's a big hope of mine.
So have you dropped some bombs in there? Like
Yeah,
little Viagra pills of
That's
sorts?
right. And I'm like, yes, stick that in your pipe and smoke it. That's confusing,
not.
isn't it? That's confusing. I mean, yeah, I was saying this yesterday. It's actually something I've learnt from reading Christos Tsiolkas's work. Is there's something in his work that is so opposed to morality in a way. Like, it is really uninterested in teaching anybody anything or being a sort of moral compass in any way. And I think I do feel that. I don't like thinking of my work as didactic. I don't like telling people how to feel. I certainly am not writing so people learn something, you know. I'm just writing stories and worlds, and they're fucked up and they're problematic and they're beautiful and they're sexed and weird, and, you know. And so I hope that resonates. Like, I hope we're getting to a point where trans storytelling and queer storytelling can be immoral and wrong and overly sexual and problematic. And, you know, I'm quite sick of queer stories and trans stories having to be so reverent or earnest or paint queer people and trans people as saints who can do no wrong just to garner empathy. I'm not interested in that. I think we should be able to tell messy stories and fucked up stories, you know, like everybody else gets to.
Your third food memory is your dad. We are at your dad's gulurakia.
Yeah.
What's so memorable about this one?
Because he hates making
Now,
them.
why does he hate making them?
Because they're so fiddly. My dad is an amazing cook. He's taught me to cook. He could cook anything, but he hates baking and he hates...
So is he a cook or a baker?
He's a cook. He does not bake. He's not interested in it. And anything that's fiddly shits him to tears. But he used to make gulurakia a lot for my grandfather. And so I just have this memory of,
Explain these gulurakia. What are they?
They're sort of these braided Greek Easter biscuits. They've got this egg wash on them and sesame seeds sprinkled over the top. And then they're braided. And I don't know, they've maybe got a bit of orange zest or lemon zest in them or something. And and my dad, who's never made a biscuit in his entire life, he used to make boxes of them. And I don't know why, because it really used to shit him. But they'd take them over to my grandfather, and my grandfather would just dip them in his, you know, coffee as black as your boot. And I'd sit on his lap, and it wasn't really, like, the coffee tasted like shit to me, but I'd just dip the biscuits and then have the soaking biscuits on his lap. So that's a pretty core memory of food for me, really, because I was so little, but I remember it so clearly.
Where did he learn to make them?
I don't know. I need to ask him, because when I ask him to make them now, he's like, oh God, they're so annoying. He finds it so frustrating. But
and he made them for your grandfather, so he could have a connection to culture.
I guess so. I get my grandfather's hands were fucked, like polio and arthritis, so he couldn't really do anything in great detail with his hands. And so I guess it was sort of that unspoken gesture of love, I suppose.
It's a big call to make someone something.
Yeah, it is. My dad, that's his love language. Like, he just cooks. He's like me. He cooks for people. He used to...
But to make something you don't like and then to try and keep the hate out of the baking.
I know. Yeah, he's got a big heart, my dad.
Do you make them yourself?
You know, I never have, but that's mostly because where I got your biscuits from today, Honey Walnut, they do them so well that it's like So it on the top of Marrickville Road, there's Greek Lebanese fruit and veg shop, Greek Lebanese butcher, Greek Lebanese cafe. They just happen to all be owned by Greeks and Lebs together. Anyway, and Honey Walnut, shouts out. That is my second home. And yeah, their kulurakia is so good that I can't bring myself to make it because it's just going to be better there.
You've chosen as your social cause trans rights, Palestinian rights, First Nation rights. You've chosen these three minority groups. Why are they all important causes to support?
Oh, I think all injustice is interconnected, and that's become more and more clear to me since the escalation of the genocide in Gaza, just that there is no trans rights without black trans rights. There is no black trans rights without the rights of Indigenous people here and globally. And there is no rights for Indigenous people here and Indigenous people globally without the rights of the Palestinians. And so all our liberation is so woven thick together. And so I don't think you can have one without the other. It's that thing of I'm never truly free until you are truly free, until the people in Palestine are truly free and the land is theirs. There is no liberation without land back. And so I think all of those things are actually in deep relation to one another.
How are you supporting First Nations and Palestinian rights without screaming at politicians down the street?
I actually yelled at Penny Wong the other day.
No.
How do you know?
You put it on social media.
Oh, yeah, you saw it. Yeah, I actually yelled at Penny Wong the other day. So I am 100. It was the privilege of my life. Yeah, I was at the airport and she was scuttling away into the Qantas lounge and I saw her and I was like, oh my God, it's Penny Wong. Because I have written so many things to her in my head and via email that I just was like, fuck, if I ever got the chance to see Penny Wong, man. Anyway, and then I saw her and she was crossing into the airport and it was so quick. It was about 3 seconds and I was pretty sure it was her. And then I just went, shame! And then she put her head down and she scuttled into the Qantas lounge. And that's how I knew it was her, because if you yelled shame at a random person, they'd go, what?
Yeah.
But she just quickly turned her head. So I do scream at politicians in the street, amongst other things. I think both are important, equally as important.
What does, by yelling at these politicians, what are you hoping to achieve?
With people like Penny Wong, to be honest, I have very little faith in the systems we have right now. I don't know if our answers are going to come from the systems that exist right now. I think
where are they going to come from? Sorry.
I think the answers will come from, as they always have, the revolution that takes place against that system. Like the rights of really any Indigenous, racialized, even trans group of people did not come from asking nicely, didn't come from going the desired route of the powers that be. It came from demanding it, and that those demands looked often very violent. And that's how we have freed each other in the past, is through protest and revolution and disrupting, Stonewall, it was violent. These things were riots. They were, Mardi Gras, for instance. Like, none of this change was forged politely. And so I think it's great that there are people that work with the system to advocate for change. Those people are a necessity, and I am so grateful they exist and have a healthy distrust in the system when engaging with it. And I think it's amazing that there are also groups of people who work around the system and behind the system's back.
So when it comes to trans rights, specifically, what's the most important thing a non-trans person can do to provide real, ongoing support in complex solidarity? Now, I'm not going to use the word ally because it feels passive and bystanderish.
I agree.
So what can we do?
Listen, I think. Something that actually the CEO, Louise Stark said yesterday on this panel. Somebody asked her about allyship, and I find allyship to be,
It's insipid.
it's just like you can't use that word for yourself because then immediately you fucked it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get to call yourself an ally. And Louise just said that she's just made a commitment to listening, and in her listening she will be wrong. She'll be wrong time and time again, but then she will just keep listening. And I just thought that was such a beautiful answer. And I think to listen and respond and act based on what you've learned from that listening is just a commitment we must all make. And I think the fact that it's trans lives that are under attack today, it'll be gay people's lives tomorrow. It'll be the target of these things is constantly shifting. And this decade it's us, but it's always black people and it's always Palestinians. And it's, so I think it's just a commitment to investing in voices outside our own and, to be honest, putting our money where our mouth is.
As someone who brings visibility to trans and queer lives through Just Being You, ZOE TERAKES, who lives in this complex solidarity with all minority groups, blacks, gays, Palestinians, what do you want to see changed? And I'm not talking about in the future, I'm talking about immediately. What is the immediate change that you want to see?
I think probably the best way to summarize it is, land back to Indigenous people, no billionaires, a toppling of colonies and colonial understandings of gender. I think that would probably summarize how I feel about everything in 3 things.
Are you ever concerned that your publicly standing up for these causes will impede your career?
It has. Absolutely, it has. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I was dropped by managers. I can't say too much on that, but it absolutely has, and I would not have it any other way.
So is there a recovery for you here, or it's like, this is what I believe in, if you're not on my boat, I'm going without you?
That. 100% that. Yeah, that is something I make abundantly clear because I don't want to find out later. I don't want to start working with people and then find out who they are and then we're stuck. Or, we fuck each other over. It's like, hey, this is how I feel. This is where I stand. Are you with me? Great. If you're not, bye. Or if there's not room for us to meet in the middle somewhere, then we just can't make art together, And I think obviously it's naive to think that we will only ever work with people who think exactly like us. That's naive. I'm not talking about that. But there are some pretty core things that we need to share, like respect for human life and respect for sovereignty and things like that, and respect for me and respect for you. That stuff's pretty integral to me.
We have an MFK Fisher Serve It Forth tradition here at TFM, where our previous guest presents you with a dish. So Kate Reid of Loon passes to you her first food memory, which are delicate crepes with lemon and sugar, which make me think of the ancient Greek version, which is called diranides, fried, thin fried crepes with honey and lemon. How do you feel about? I'm giving you Kate's, not the diranides. How do you feel about crepes with lemon and sugar?
So good.
How many could you smash right now?
7.
Why stop there? What would you like to pass on to our next guest?
Dolmades.
How would you make them?
Well, there's the Greek way and there's the Arab way, which is, I think, warak inab. And theirs has mince in it, which I've never had before. But I reckon it could be yummier than our version. But yeah, beautiful lemony rice wrapped in vine leaves, dipped. You can get them in the you know, the Greek deli. You can get them in the can. Sometimes that's my lunch at the library. Yeah, I'd pass them one.
Final question. If you could take one of the myths you've reimagined in Eros and lived inside it for the rest of your days, fully as yourself, which one would it be?
That's such a good question.
You've got to choose a favourite baby.
Okay, Iphis, Icarus, Eurydice, Artemis, Hermaphroditus. Well, I've got to choose an ancient one because I want to be in it. I think that would be awesome to see what it's like back there. I think I'd go Iphis. It's got a happy ending. You know, he goes through hell, but then he's got his wife, he's got his mum, he's got beautiful food, there's fish in the sea. I'd live in Iphis. It's not even my favourite, but it's the world I'd want to live in the most.
This is your opportunity to ask me a question.
Okay. What was it like? What was it like growing up as a young queer ethnic person?
What was it like? It wasn't easy, but I didn't make it easy for myself.
Okay, how do you mean?
I was so into my pain. I was so into my own, no one is like me, no one's going through what I'm going through. You know what, I'm going to isolate. I'm going to disconnect. And by doing that, I became bratty, I became annoying. And also, I wasn't aware what was going on for other people. So even the cool kids and the popular kids at school who had loads of friends and went to loads of parties, we've since reconnected and I'm one of the cool kids all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah.
And their stories of what was going on for them during that time, although not similar to mine, were identical in pain and anguish. And I only wish I could go back with what I know now to that time.
Yeah.
To that little Stephen, because that's how I was known, not Sava, back then, and say, dude, I know you're going through a bit of shit at the moment, but just have a look at everyone else because they're all doing it, a different version of yours. If you can just understand their story, I think you'll be fine. And I think I would have been. I wouldn't have been as isolated. There wouldn't have been moments. We would have been able to exchange stories like we have done now in our 40s, 30s, 40s and 50s. And I just kind of look back and go, well, that was a fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
But an important part of time. And as a parent now, I'm able to help my children through whatever isolation or through, you know, if they don't fit in or something's not working for them. I know, you know, I said to Leo, one of my sons, you know, I didn't have very many friends at school, which is bullshit. I had loads. Well, but that I wasn't aware of because I was too busy being, you know, annoying and insular. And he said a couple of days later, Papa, what was it like having no friends? And I was like, okay, right, now I need to identify where he's at. So you asking me that question actually makes me realise why I'm doing 3 food memories, because of that moment, because of that isolation that I was put into, and not by just my community, Zoe. But I did that. I contributed that too. So now I work really hard, and I'm still working hard with this fucking project. And just daily I get messages from people. I get it. I get what you're doing. What do you mean I've been doing this for 5 years and only now that you're cottoning onto it? So it's opening up. And, you know, your queer experience is very different from mine. It has different layers. But through listening, I'm able to understand yours and have an appreciation for your pain and your happiness and your storytelling. And then when I meet someone else like you, I've got that connection and I've catapulted, I'm in front, I'm standing next to them with them. So while I look back and had a shitty, you know, coming out and queerhood, I'm very fortunate and to be able to do this with people now as a result of that.
Beautiful.
Did I answer the... Sweetheart, thank you for the taste of your clay pot of juices. Harika Poli.
Ευχαριστώ.
That's it for this episode of 3 Food Memories.